All right, I'd like to go ahead and open the Tuesday, September 7, 2021 Warrants and Board of Aldermen meeting. If you would, please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item would be, what's that? Oh, next item would be this certificate or certification presentation to the city clerk, Melody Rue. Well, that's a hard to say. Certification presentation. It's almost like a Dr. Seuss thing.
There you go. Good evening, Mayor Schluter and Board of Aldermen. My name is Nancy Sullen. I'm the Assistant City Clerk for the City of Wentzville. I serve on the Public Relations Committee for the local Missouri City Clerks and Finance Officers Association and the state Missouri City Clerks and Finance Officers Public Relations Committee. Also here with me tonight from the Public Relations Committee is Pam Castellano. Hey, I got it. I'm good. City of St. Charles, and Jody Schneider from the City of Troy is also here with us this evening. Our purpose in being here tonight is to recognize your city clerk, Melody Rue, for having been awarded the designation of Missouri Registered City Clerk Sustaining. This certification is a combination of education and experience, and Melody is to be commended for her perseverance in achieving this goal and encouraged to continue pursuing her education. The MOCCFOA has a current membership of over 600 clerks and is dedicated to the education of city clerks and finance officers throughout the state of Missouri. With the ever-changing state statutes and rules governing cities, it is vital that someone be kept current on these changes and regulations. MOCCFOA takes this role very seriously and will continue to strive to ensure that the education provided is relevant to the needs of the position of city clerk. Additionally, you as elected officials are to be commended for your continued support of Melody as she has worked towards this certification. It clearly demonstrates that you recognize that the knowledge she receives and the educational system sessions is of great benefit to you, to other city staff, and to your residents. Melody has been active with the Eastern Division of MOCCFOA and has served on the Scholarship Committee for a few years from 2017 through 2019. And now, Melody, on behalf of the Eastern Division and the MOCCFOA Public Relations Committee, I present you with the Certificate of Appreciation.
Thank you so much.
Do you have anybody to take a picture with you here? Okay, you're good. We were just trying to get for everything.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Just walked in.
Thank you. Hey, look. Show up.
Get one for us, though, for the city. Please.
Real quick, yeah.
Thank you all very much.
I don't think I can get load up.
I was ready before you were out.
That happens on that, right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So-
Thank you. Good luck.
Congratulations.
So I will say, ladies,
Thank you.
if you're not aware of the way it functions here, we appreciate it, but we really don't have a choice. She really does kind of keep us in line in a lot of things. So if we try and stray too far, she snaps us right back in.
Right.
So.
That's what she's supposed to do, so very good. Thanks, you guys. Thank you.
They think I'm joking.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah, I'm not playing with that. It's an internal watchdog. Next item be consent agenda.
We have the regular meeting minutes from August 17, 2021, and the work session minutes from August 17, 2021, which was the meeting with MoDOT.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as submitted.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz, second by Alderman Deloy. Roll call vote.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Porter
Absent.
is absent. Alderman Cohen
Yes.
and Alderman Jaspering.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with one absent. Next will be the public comments. Just for clarification on this, this is the time that if there's any issues you see on the agenda or what be it, come up and state your name at the podium, and we'll give you 5 minutes to speak, even on the bills or what be it. We've kind of structured a little differently so that we can get some of the comments through and then let our comments come up too. So. Like I said, when you come up, just state your name, and then we'll give you time to speak. You can adjust the microphone to wherever you need it.
Short.
Thank you.
My name is Donna Belker. I have been in animal rescue for approximately 7 years, and I'm here asking you to not pass the new ordinance regarding vicious animals tonight. There's a lot of verbiage that needs to either be changed or removed in this bill. The first one is, and these are not in any particular order, is that if a dog is judged vicious by a judge that may or may not have any experience, background, education in animal behavior, there's no appeal process that is left for the owner. The dog will be euthanized the next day, which leaves the owner with no due process to protect her property. You're stripping the property owner of that dog their constitutional right to appeal. Also, the labeling or the verbiage saying an apprehension of serious physical injury, that state is a state of mind. It's not an observed behavior. It simply says, if somebody says, oh, I was afraid they were going to bite me, that dog could be declared vicious. Also, who determines what is not and is provoked by an animal? If a cat comes on my property and my dog's in a fenced yard and my dog kills that cat, is that provoked? That's item 4 on there. Also, you're asking for any dog of a vicious nature has to have a bond and a liability insurance policy. I've been bit by a Yorkie. That's not a vicious nature dog. I've transported hundreds of dogs over the 7 years, and dogs' behavior changed based on the situation. A shelter dog's behavior will get worse and worse the longer it gets. A scared dog that I may pull from an animal control may be deemed vicious because it's scared simply because of a change of environment or being moved from its current situation. There's a lot of other verbiage, but I only have 5 minutes. So I'm asking for this not to be passed tonight, to really put some careful thought in the verbiage and not give the power to possibly 2 people to determine the fate of a dog, which would be euthanasia. Thank you.
Thanks, Donna. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Justin Bruce, and I am seconding everything she just said. I think the verbiage is too loose. There needs to be an appeal for a dog. That's it.
Thank you. His name.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Keena Reed, and I totally agree with Donna, but on that point, I do have some things that I want to say also about Bill 6261. It would change the definition of vicious animals, stating, any of the following animals are presumed to be vicious animals. That's very confusing and vague and leaves for a lot of open discussion. When you look it up in the dictionary, presume means to make an informed guess or to constitute reason for assuming. I don't want to base my pet's fate on somebody's assumptions. Anyone who is afraid of dogs or just don't like dogs automatically assumes that they are vicious. Section 205.200, Regulation and Destruction of Vicious Animals. This section is extremely subjective and unreasonable for being based on presumptions. My pet could be deemed a nuisance or a vicious animal by someone who has never even met my pet. There are leash regulations in Warrenton that are not properly being enforced. They really need to be enforced. These regulations would decrease avoidable incidents. Another problem I've seen with it, there is no appeal process included, which is stated, which is a violation of due process. There are many cases out there where the higher courts have deemed vicious animal ordinance unconstitutionally vague in violation to the due process in the United States Constitution and in some state constitutions.
Hello everyone, thank you for your time. My name is Chad Frazier. I literally do not have a dog in this fight, but I'm a certified dog trainer. One of the things that I have with this is the vagueness of the language in this proposed bill. People's pets can be put in compromised situations if somebody is fearful. I've seen dogs get free from collars, chase a squirrel, pull the leash out of a hand at Binkley Park, and mothers have grabbed their kids. They're fearful. It's not a vicious dog, but it can be presumed that way. And if they make a phone call to the police department, a vicious dog was charging at me, then it's, basically hearsay at that point. My word against theirs. The other issue is with the right to due process. I did have it pulled up on my phone, but for some reason I can't get internet in here. The Supreme Court of Ohio, the state of Ohio, has ruled very similar vicious dog laws to be taken off the books, overturned. I had the case filed, but no internet here. And it read pretty much the same way, that the owner of the property of the dog was not allowed due process. There was no appeal process for the decision. So I think that is something that needs to be looked into and better thought out. The last thing I wanted to talk about was evaluating the dog to deem it vicious or not vicious. I don't know who is appointed here in the city of Warrenton, but that's something that takes a lot of time and skill to properly evaluate a dog. It's not something that can be rushed. I've processed incoming dogs, and it's months really to get to the bottom of what a dog is and what they're about. I just feel like this bill is almost a fast track to euthanize dogs, without really a proper due process. But that's all I have to say, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jason Reynolds. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me tonight. In regards to Bill 6221, I do agree with due process as the first thing. Warrenton does have a history of pretty much protecting people's rights, from what I've seen, and holding to it. It's a pretty good town for that. What I see as an issue here, not just about dogs, but also about cats, because it says any animal, whether or not running at large or whether or not unrestrained, that without provocation has bitten or otherwise injured a person, not a trespasser, or, I can't read that word, I'm sorry, causes physical injury to that person. That also includes cats. Cats are great animals. They do have their own mind. They're a little more picky of who they want to be around versus a dog. However, both are great animals. I worry that this opens up a problem for somebody that gets scratched by a cat. It does mention in here, it's loosely worded like the others have mentioned, if somebody does get injured physically, that animal can get put down. There's no discretion as the amount of the intent. It's not seen by anyone. It's all by hearsay, and hearsay does not work in a court of law. So I have the problem, because this is not even going to court, no one can defend what the animal did. And for you to lose an animal, I'm sure that maybe was good for you. You have a unknown person comes, knocks on the door. They could technically at that point say, well, the dog growled, the dog showed teeth. That's an aggressive manner, because if that door wasn't between that person, the person would feel fear, but you have a little barrier of security. So let's say the owner started to open up the door and talk, the dog still growled, showed teeth. That's still aggression. There's no good definition. It's a little loosely worded. I think this needs to kind of be looked at, reviewed a little bit more. And as far as any animal that causes physical injury, you could actually even raise rabbits. There's people that raise rabbits. If that thing kicks hard enough, it'll make you bleed pretty darn bad. Are you going to put down somebody's pet rabbit? It sounds stupid, but that's how little things start. They build up. So kind of look at this a little bit more. Maybe talk to some more trainers. Maybe somebody that works with animals. I think that'd be more beneficial. Maybe think about it a little bit more, how this bill, if you're going to pass it at all, have a little bit more to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
I have 13 emails to read.
Go ahead.
First one says, please do not pass this bill. There needs to be a right to appeal for Kathy Park. The next one says that it's brought to my...
Hang on, Melody.
I'll get another mic on.
Oh, it is on.
Stop picking it.
There it goes. How about now? There it goes. It has been brought to my attention that there is a bill number 62-21 giving animal control the authority to destroy healthy animals. As a humane person, I strongly object to this maliciousness and unconscionable action. This is a lazy way to make an attempt at handling a problem. As a lawmaker, you are elected to do the right thing and reasonable thing. The bill is neither right nor reasonable. Regards, Joe Gerdenstein. Please do not allow the proposed law to allow dogs deemed vicious to be destroyed before they are given ample time to be allowed to calm down and be fairly evaluated. Carolyn Olson, a Warren County taxpayer. So it's bad when they do it to people, but okay to do it to animals. A life is a life, right? With all the things in this county that truly needs to be looked at a little more closely, this is a waste of time in my opinion. I would love to know the statistics of how many dogs that have been caught were actually vicious. That was from Laureen Moore. I cannot attend the meeting, but please read this. The thought of my dog being destroyed upon the judgment of the court without myself having any appeal or defense of my animal is not only wrong, but cruel, and seems like a violation of law and my rights. I am a responsible dog owner. However, there are many who are not. My dog will protect me, my family, and our property, and if an unleashed dog or trespassers create a situation that my dog is going to react to on my property, my dog should not be destroyed for defending itself or myself. I realize there are cases where aggressive dogs can be a problem. However, I feel like innocent animals will be judged unfairly under these new proposals. I am fully insured by State Farm in case of something happening with my dog, and that should be taken into consideration. No way should an animal be destroyed without the owner having an opportunity to defend the dog in court. Thank you, and I really hope this new ordinance fails. Jason Schulhammer. I completely object to the changes proposed within this bill. This is outright animal cruelty and unjust. Each case should be individually considered on these cases and represented by each animal owner. By changing the old ordinance, you are opening a door for animals to be used in petty neighborly arguments as pawns and sent to death in unfair methods. By passing, the board will yet again prove this public opinion by citizens does not matter to them and that they will do as they please without support. Judy Walker. If a dog is taken in and labeled vicious, I understand you are trying to pass a bill to have them put down without no appeal. This is unacceptable. A dog that has been lost and scared and tired and missing their owners is going to act scared in a situation such as being caught and out in a kennel. Who are you to decide they are vicious and make a decision to put them down? The owner should be found and be able to appeal, and when reunited, they can prove the dog is not vicious. Please educate yourself on the subject of lost dogs and how they go into survival mode. Why don't you put your time and energy into spay and neuter clinics and getting pets chipped? Please don't pass this bill. Have some compassion for people's loved dogs who they consider family. The best pet parent can have a dog get lost. Thank you for your consideration in this matter, Kimberly Crook. I feel that if you put a dog down because of someone else's story, it isn't fair to the dog or the owners. There's always two sides to every story. I don't believe that this bill will benefit our town. Joyce Walzak. As a pet owner of a breed some deem vicious, I do not believe that a bill like this would protect my rights as property pet owner, nor would they protect my animal against those that could just be discriminatory against certain breeds. There is always more than one side to a story when something happens amongst an animal attack bite. Some are provoked, and if so, then why should that animal immediately have to be put down before the proper investigation is completed? Sometimes more information comes out, and if this is allowed to pass, then that animal may not be around to see if more information is found. Every situation should be allowed an appeal process. We can even give people who are convicted of murder several appeals to possibly find that they were innocent in the end. We should give our pets the same courtesy as to some of us, they are children, and to some, they may be the only family they do have. Respectfully, City of Warrenton resident Jeanette Miller. Hello, unfortunately I cannot attend tonight's meeting due to my job. However, I feel these animals need a voice to stand up for them. I would like for this email to be read out loud. I do agree that some animals are just plain aggressive and need action taken, and I also agree that owners should be held responsible as well. But on the other hand, some animals, when lost or scared and do not know the people that are trying to save them, can have a negative reaction. Just because they are scared and threatened doesn't mean they are a vicious animal. Same with a possible animal with an injury, they have no way of telling us they are hurt. The only way is when they are touched, they react. Again, not fair to the animal. Also, I feel this is very opinionated. A vicious animal to one person might not be to someone else. I was a veterinary assistant. I worked with all kinds of animals and people for that matter, so I know firsthand how this all works. People scared of dogs automatically think all dogs are vicious, even though they aren't. I feel like the owner needs to be notified before any destruction is done, and the animals need a proper trial, if they want to call it that. Think if it was your pet that got loose. You're worried sick, looking for your family member when you get a call that your pet has been judged as vicious because the pet got hit by a car and was wounded, and when someone went to help and grabbed the pet wrong, it reacted in pain, or it was so scared it cried and snarled because it was lost and confused and didn't know someone was there to help. It's not right and too vague of a bill if it can pretty much deem any animal vicious based upon an opinion. Also, if a neighbor decided they didn't like my pets, or they decided they didn't like you, they can claim this, and then an innocent life will be taken or torn away from the only family they know. I think this bill needs a lot of reworking before it should be passed as it sits. It's just waiting for disaster to happen and innocent lives lost. And sometimes we maybe need to look at the people that own the animals too and see why the animal got loose or why its behavior is like that. We the people have to be the voice for these animals. If people get a trial, the animals should too. No one deserves their pets taken away because of someone's opinion. Example, my dog Smiles. People that aren't familiar with dogs can take that as aggression even though it is not. If she were to accidentally escape my yard or the kids let her out on accident, I would be devastated to think that she could possibly be destroyed due to a smile and someone not knowing her, all while I'm worrying about trying to find her. This bill needs to be reworked. It's unfair. Thanks, Dakota Engelmeyer. It's come to my attention that Bill number 62-21 is being discussed at tonight's BOA meeting. It's believed by a large number of Warren County citizens and a large number who reside in Warrenton city limits that Bill number 62-21 is way too subjective, pure animal cruelty, and completely outrageous. Bill number 62-21 does not have enough information to properly feel as these dogs that can be deemed vicious will be getting the fair judgment they deserve. The number one reason a dog is to act violent towards something or someone is purely out of fear, neglect, and abuse, and improper training. Now imagine you were scared and in a situation where you've been in before and you acted completely out of your normal behavior and you now were considered vicious. And to be put in front of a judge who has no knowledge how you normally behave, has never spent any time with you, or doesn't know how loved you are by members in your family and decides you should be destroyed. Before you were scared and in an unfamiliar situation, you were every dog lover's dream. You played fetch, knew commands and tricks. You were the best family dog that could have ever have had, but since you acted out this once out of fear, you were to be destroyed. That's cruel. It's cruel to say you will destroy a living, breathing animal no matter the situation. It has also been brought to my attention that your animal control services and facilities are severely underfunded. I believe you will find a more positive outcome by bringing in more funds to your animal control facilities, employees, and the animals that are in the city's care. A properly funded shelter will be a better alternative to the community. It provides a safe place to those vicious animals by providing them a safe place where they can receive proper care and training to get back to being the man's best friend they aren't meant to be. Animal shelters have been bringing together communities for a long time. It would be a shame for the animal shelter to ungather the community with the inhumane understandings in Bill number 62-21. Please remember your heart and don't put Bill number 62-21 into effect. Many of Warrenton's city limit residents do not agree with this bill. They claim it is inhumane, outrageous, and against the rights of pet owners in Warren County. Continue being a good city to raise a family in, and don't be a place people avoid because of lack of compassion against animals. Jana Summers. My name is Joe Herman. I'm a new resident in our neighborhood. I live at 907 Mohawk Court. It has come to my attention that the new bill will grant judges the capability to put down, kill animals in our neighborhood. This is appalling. It makes me sick to my stomach. I feel this is a blame to overreach of power, and we need to stand for the pups that I'm sure it's supposed to say can't stand for themselves. I couldn't be more against this and am confused beyond belief that this has even been brought up. Hoping I did not choose the wrong neighborhood to build my first house. Once again, we need to stand for the little ones that can't stand for themselves, not kill. Thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts on this issue. To the Board of Aldermen of the City of Warrenton, Missouri. My husband and I moved to Warrenton last year, so we are rather new residents of the community. By way of this email, I would like to formally go on record to say we oppose the pending Vicious Animal Bill 62-21 that is being considered and voted on this evening. I was just notified of this pending bill a few minutes ago, and based on what I understand you are voting on this evening, I do not like nor do I support the proposed changes to the definition of a vicious animal. The proposed changes are ridiculous and completely unfair to legal, loving, and responsible animal owners. Any ordinance that would allow the City of Warrenton the ability to euthanize one of my dogs based on anyone claiming an unprovoked dog bite without a court hearing or proper defense is unjustified and barbaric. These changes do not allow responsible dog owners to protect their pets. This bill is a gross overreach of power, and the City of Warrenton needs a gut check. Animal owners deserve a fair process that would consider every dog bite situation uniquely, not a blanket euthanized approach. I hope the citizens of this community voice their opposition to this ridiculous bill at your meeting tonight. Thank you, Lisa Boyer, 19444 Big Creek Lane, Warrenton, Missouri. That's all.
Come up and speak on this or any other issue.
I think we have somebody waving on the Zoom. Or holding their hand up. Maybe.
Uh-uh.
I had a yellow hand up.
They can't talk on Zoom.
Oh. Okay.
Anybody else here would like to speak with any other issue or this issue particularly? All right. Next, we'll hear from Board of Aldermen comments.
So this is where we want to talk about this? We're going to talk about this dog bill now? Or you want to wait till...
We usually do it under the, usually when Brandy presents some of the things.
Okay.
we'll discuss it then.
Cool, just want to make sure.
I know, we're still trying to get used to some of it, and we're modifying some of it as we go. So, next we'll talk about the rolling street closure for National 4-H Day of Services in Warren County 4-H.
And Sarah Schneider is here with the 4-H to answer any questions you may have. And can you kind of give them an overview of what it is?
If you can just come to the podium.
Okay, sorry.
Appreciate it. I know, nobody likes coming to the podium.
Get up, but, so I'm just representing our 4-H clubs that are planning this event for Saturday morning. We're planning, hoping to plan a day where we get together and celebrate or remember the 9/11 anniversary of 20 years. We have a grant that was presented that helped buy the things that we're providing, and we hope to close the street from the service road from the outlet mall to the memorial that morning, starting at 8 until everyone processes, and then I guess open it back up.
So you're really going to think we're bad because I'm going to put you on the spot. Did you bring any of your flyers by chance?
I didn't because it was a PDF that I couldn't open at
No
my
big deal.
work.
Can you speak a little bit about that, about the shirts?
The shirts were sold ahead of time, but there are a few, oh, you have a flyer. There are a few available that day. They were sponsored by different community members. And then I know there's a lunch provided, and there's a few speakers, a 4-H member, who is it? The guy, one of our, not aldermans, one of the other gentlemen.
The
I can't think
commissioners?
of his name. Anyways, there's 3 speakers that'll speak that morning
I
once
think
we
it's
get up to the.
It's Joe Gildahouse. I
Yes,
think is
thank you.
speaking.
Yeah,
He's
Joe.
our
Okay.
presiding commissioner for the county.
Yeah. So, yeah. Do you have any other questions?
I'll just say on a personal level, instead of backing the board here, for those of us that remember 9/11, which I'm hoping most of us in the crowd do, or it's sitting at these tables do, but for those that don't, sometimes it doesn't seem as important. But I think those of us that remember seeing the horrific things on TV and hearing about them and living through them, 20 years.
I think it's a really cool opportunity to teach our kids about the event, or not the event, what happened, and a way to remember. We called it a day of remembrance because, it was a big deal, but our kids don't have any idea. They didn't live through it. So
at 9/11 ceremonies, it seems to trickle less and less people showing up for them, and I get it. We get busy. Still think it's pretty important to remember.
The whole community is invited. And it's not just a 4-H event. We are sponsoring it and putting it on with the help of this grant, but we do want anyone who wants to do something, because it's hard to figure out what to do in situations like that. So everybody is invited to come on Saturday, if it's approved.
I know it's uncomfortable to come up and speak, but thank you for coming up and
Thank you.
sharing.
And this is going to start at the outlet mall?
It starts at the outlet mall at the
Okay.
west entrance by Rural King.
All right.
That's where you can pick up shirts and gather your flags, and then we'll process up to the memorial. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, sir.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion. To approve the rolling street closure for the National 4-H Day of Service.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Cullum, seconded by Alderman Schultz. Roll call vote.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Alderman Cullum?
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with 1 absent. I'm not picking up either. Okay, there it is. Let me pull it closer. Sorry about that. Item 10 was removed from the agenda at the request from the school board. Next item will be the catered liquor license for Downtown Pub and Grill for Fall Festival. Anybody has any questions? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve the liquor license for Downtown Pub and Grill for Fall Festival.
So moved.
Second.
Who'd you get for second? We'll go for Jaspering. Motion made by Alderman Schultz, seconded by Alderman Jaspering. Roll call vote.
Alderman Crump.
Yes.
Alderman Cullum.
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering.
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with one absent. Next will be the liquor by the drink liquor license for Mama's Covered LLC. Any questions on that? Now, entertain a motion to approve liquor by the drink liquor license for Mama's Covered LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Jaspering, seconded by Alderman Cullum. Roll call vote.
Alderman Cullum.
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering.
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Alderman Crump.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with one absent. Next, we'll hear from City Administrator Brandy Walters.
Good evening. The first thing that we have for you is the vicious dog bill tonight, and I'm going to let Chris Graville is going to speak about that.
Sure. Thank you. You know, I've been working for the city for 20 years, and in our 20 years, we've never put down, despite what some people I think assume may not have a real strong knowledge of the history of our animal control here in the city of Warrenton, but we've never forcibly put down a vicious animal. We basically what happened is we had a situation in the city that got resolved where there was a concern that there was not an ability to try to adopt the dog out. Those of you that have dealt with our animal control here in Warrenton, I think we probably make some of the best efforts to be a no-kill shelter to try to adopt dogs out, work with rescue organizations, work with local rescue organizations to try to find great dispositions for the animals. And, you know, the animal control officers that the city of Warrenton hires really stress that, and I think the chief can talk a lot about that or a little bit on that with regards to the type of people that we hire and what we try to do. In fact, you guys a couple of months ago even approved one of the buildings that was not being used by the city as a pantry for pets, where we give out dog coupons and give out free dog food. So number one, I think there's some experience that we have that I think here in the city of Warrenton, this is not something we strive for, but there are situations where dogs ultimately, you know, we can't find people to take these dogs, like has happened recently. And there is a liability that we have with regards to certain animals where we get concerned about letting it go back to the property owner and whatnot. I think even some of the statements talked about the fact that some animals, you know, ultimately, I'm a dog owner, I'm a dog lover, but sometimes as far as from a government perspective and the general welfare of the citizens, you know, that is a step that we at least want to have the opportunity to do. When we looked at our ordinance in this situation, we waited till after that situation was resolved to even bring it in front of the board, so it wasn't driven by any particular set of facts. We really tried to look at, like we always do, we looked at various different cities and how they handle it and how they regulate it. And there's been court cases. I know there's been some concerns about constitutionality as we actually looked for cities that have ordinances that have been tested, and their process gave the ability for that have been through the courts, looked at the constitutionality, the void for vagueness, and we feel very comfortable that this ordinance is within these means. This ordinance is really based off the city of St. Charles. And I know there was a lot of people that said you can't appeal, there's no appeal process. We adopted a process, just so everybody's aware, state statute allows fourth-class cities to destroy animals. We don't destroy animals in our shelter. We try to adopt them out and we try to find homes for them. But one of the reasons we chose the statutory process was because it did require a hearing in front of the municipal judge. So that is the appeal process. That is, there's a burden of proof. There's a burden of persuasion that has to be carried by myself if staff are recommending the dog to be put down because it's been deemed vicious and it's necessary to take those additional steps. We felt that this was the most due process we could do. And I know people are looking at the ordinance in kind of hypothetical situations, but I've been involved in these hearings in my 20 years of practicing law and local government, and And, the judge can issue something less than, it's just if the judge ultimately orders the dog being destroyed, then that has to be executed within 24 hours. That still gives an opportunity to appeal to the circuit court if a pet owner wants to do that. But most of the time, dispositions are worked out to either remove the dog or whatnot. In 20 years, we haven't done this. When we looked at the cities, every city virtually had a vicious dog ordinance that put the dog down. I believe we did have one prior to the codification when we did it years ago, because our ordinance originally had a provision for putting down rabid dogs and vicious dogs. It's just the sections didn't line up. So I think something got dropped off when we did the code. So, there is an appeal. That's why there is a trial in front of the municipal judge where the rules of evidence are followed, where, there's a burden of persuasion, burden of proof. I think the presumption that a judge appointed by the city of Warrenton can't make a determination as a hearing officer as to whether a dog is vicious, and then ultimately to, make a recommendation on the disposition of the animal, I don't think really takes into account our experience here and how we've done it here in Warrenton. There was a comment made about apprehension of physical injury. How could that be? Well, that's the same thing that an assault could be. Those of you that are familiar with law enforcement, can be apprehension of serious physical injury. That's something that people are convicted of criminal offenses, and we wanted to try to mirror that. Now, our definition of vicious animal is actually more expansive than the city of St. Charles, because we wanted to provide a little bit more clarity than what they actually have in their ordinance. So we actually brought some language from a different ordinance to insert that in there, so it was actually more defined. There was a comment here, it can be based on hearsay, whatnot. Those of you that have witnessed or been participated in our municipal court, I think we have a really good judge. He doesn't allow hearsay testimony because it is a municipal subdivision of the Circuit Court of Warren County. So, that is what we tried to build in here, was an actual hearing in front of a municipal judge to make a determination on the disposition of the animal. And it's only if the animal is ordered destroyed that then there's that execution of that animal that occurs based on the ordinance, which is the same as the city of St. Charles. But that judge has full discretion to agree with the animal control officer's determination or to disagree with it. And it's isolated and it's not affected by the Board of Aldermen or political pressure. It's the municipal judge serving a term of appointment to make a decision based on, the evidence. So, I know there's a lot of consternation about this, but as I said before, the cities we sampled, every single one of them had a mechanism in place to put dangerous, vicious animals down. There wasn't a city we looked at that didn't have one. We did not have one. I think we did in the past, but somehow, somewhere that got lost. We've never done this to put a dog down, but in the right situation where there are neighbors that are afraid to leave their house or afraid to take their children outside or afraid to have people come over, which was a recent situation that we had, I think there's a balancing we have to do in those situations where our well-trained staff and well-experienced staff doesn't feel as though there's anything additional they can do or any additional steps they can take to try to accommodate the animal anymore. So that's really the basis. I can answer any questions about it. Anything you guys have.
So you say this has never happened in 20 years, we never put a dog down, but who's to say that it's not going to happen? So just because it doesn't mean that it never has, doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So why give all that power to that one individual and then not give the process of the appeal?
Okay, so, but I don't know if you're understanding, Alderman Jaspering. There's a determination made by animal control that this is a vicious animal. And then prior to taking any disposition of the animal, that is the appeal process, is going through the administrative process through the municipal judge.
How can you appeal a process when there's been no determination by a judge, though?
Well, that happens all the time in municipalities, like, for example, public nuisances or property code violations. They're deemed to be by the enforcement officer to be in violation, and then you can have an administrative hearing for a public nuisance that then the chief of police makes a determination at that point that it is a public nuisance, or property code violations, similar kind of process as well. It's really trying to add into the vicious dog an administrative appeal process. That's what we were trying to do by bringing it to in front of the municipal judge.
Right, but I think from the public's perspective of this, they don't see that there's anything written there that they can appeal the process. So that's probably the main issue with this bill, is they don't see that they can appeal the process.
I guess my question would be, what would they want to appeal?
I don't know, they don't want their dog to get killed. They don't.
Alderman Jasper, like I said, we base this on cities that have been challenged in court. We can take anything you got, any suggestions or changes you want to make back.
Folks, hey, please.
We can work on that. I can tell you, I think the chief can speak to this. This was requested by law enforcement in the city and by animal control to have that mechanism when there is no other options to put there. So it's not just something we wrote up, but any suggestions you can have, we can work on, and we can look at trying to add it. If you have, you can tell me, give me an idea of kind of where you want me to make those revisions.
I think go ahead.
I was going to say, Chris, my question would be, so I think what Jeff's trying to say, and maybe this is already on the books, I don't know. So this is almost, the way I'm understanding it, like a last resort. So you're,
100%.
If I'm hearing you right, you're saying, hey, resident A calls animal control comes out and makes a determination whether they cite the owner, put the dog in dog jail, or whatever they do, and then if it's a reoccurrence, then they may decide and go to the police and say, hey, this is a reoccurrence, we recommend this to be done. Is that correct?
This is, like I said, we've been able to navigate this process for a very long time with the investment that the city has made in animal control, the staffing levels being appropriate and whatnot. And it really is a shame because, those that haven't had the experience with our animal control don't, our animal control officers work very hard to connect people with resources to, I know there was something about vaccination and chipping and all that other stuff, to connect people with resources to help, especially poor people, whether it's dog food or whatnot. But absolutely, it's a last resort. It's just when that situation arises, to be able to have that last resort as an option, like every other city does, just makes sense. This is, I think, taking this in isolation and looking at this ordinance in a vacuum like it's just suddenly going to start to occur does not express a familiarity with how we deal with unleashed dogs. We don't even write them citations the first time. We try to work with them multiple times to help them. A lot of experience I think you will find is we deal with some owners of dogs that may have some mental health issues that we try to help them out with as well, to connect them with resources as well. I mean, I unfortunately, you guys are seeing this, which is something that is a last resort, Alderman Collum, but really doesn't take into account all the efforts we make. I mean, I think, and I think Brandy and the chief can speak to that as well. It's not just my experience as the prosecutor. I think they can speak from experience level. I don't know if you guys have anything to add.
Absolutely. Our animal control, she has many, many years of experience. She does everything in her power to never get to this point. She tries to help people with training their dogs. She'll sit down with them and how to get recall and get the dogs to come back to them, that kind of thing. And she goes out of her way to help residents with issues with their animals. This is not something, she's not going to pick up your dog because it's walking down the street and it got away. If it's not deemed vicious, she still has to go through the whole process through ag of you have to hold a stray for so long. It's not like she's going to pick up, those loose dogs and just deem them vicious. That's not how it works. Also, keep in mind that these definitions that are in here were already in our code. The only thing that we added to all of these definitions, all 4 lines, was or other tortfeasor. That's the only thing we added. Those definitions were already in our code. That did not change.
And we kept them because we thought, the definition of vicious animal under the city of St. Charles, which has already been tested in court, was 1 line. And we felt this gave more guidance than what the 1-line definition of a vicious animal in the city of St. Charles was.
Another thing to kind of keep in mind is our current code, if they deem the dog vicious, there's not really any other options. So with this new code, it actually gives the dog owner or animal owner other options of creating an enclosure and different ways that they can, then that they can keep their animal, still have their animal at home, even if it is declared vicious. There are other options now that's built into this new code versus previously.
Comments? I'm going to go ahead and throw my 2 cents in real quick. The opinion may not be well liked, but I do believe an ordinance to this effect is needed in certain circumstances. But I do understand and have heard, in my opinion, we probably do, and I understand where you're coming from as well, Counselor, but I think we need it more clear and precise on the due process a person can take and how it needs to be laid out within the ordinance. I know you may disagree on that, but I think it's just easier for them to be able to read it black and white and understand it. Also, on the process of how to get there, I know we've followed certain things, and by that, it could be more of our procedures and followed by what we would understand inside the city. But those procedures need to probably be laid out, whether for adoption first or removal. I know in years past, we've had vicious dogs that have trapped their own owners inside their house. We did not destroy those dogs. We actually asked the owner to remove them from the city and not to bring them back, or they would be destroyed at that point. So we tried to work with whatever we could to try and get the dog placed in a different area as to not affect neighbors or those people inside that home again. Those are only 2 instances I can think of very specifically in my mind that we tried to do that. There again, I appreciate the person that came up and spoke about the behavior of the dogs. I understand. I think that's something we could probably look into. But I also think that sometimes in certain situations, we do draw out some things to a longer effect than what need be. And I know you're going to disagree with me, and that's all right. We can always agree to disagree on a lot of levels. But I do understand what was said here tonight. And I think, in my opinion, not that I'm a vote on this, I think it is something we can do a little more clarification on. I think honestly, we've taken a step in the right direction by bringing up an ordinance pertaining to vicious dogs. But I do understand some of the people that come up, and I think we can probably clarify some of the issues within that was stated today.
So if I can just get a little bit of guidance, is it simply after the municipal judge makes a determination, you want to give them 30 days to appeal it to the circuit court? Is that the type of appeal that you were interested in? Is it an appeal of the enforcement officer's decision? What appeal, because those would be, legally, those would be the 2 appeals that I would insert in there.
The person's decision is the appeal in front of the judge.
Correct.
But the appeal within 24
It's not really
hours,
an
I think
appeal.
we need to extend the appeal from the judge if they want to take this. I think we need to give it a couple more days.
We could make that 30 days. The only thing I will warn you that we've recently experienced is it is a heavy burden to have what our animal control feels are vicious animals, to have the responsibility to care for them in the shelter, because it makes it much more difficult to care for and adopt out the other animals, and it can affect some of the other animals as well. That's the only thing I would say, because that was one of the issues that came up with some of the delays before. But it would be fairly simple to add a 30-day, if your dog is deemed vicious and deemed destroyed, to give them a 30-day period of time to appeal it to the Circuit Court of Warren County.
So 2 things that come up real quick on that is, yes, this is the one time I'm going to tell you, I usually do stick up for our employees and try and, I'm going to have to go with what a citizen would like to see, because within 30 days they could try and get somebody to come in that is a behavioral expert.
Well, that wasn't her saying in response to that.
No, I know.
That was just us going through the
But I understand what you're bringing up. My thing is if they want to pay, if the person appealing the process appealing the decision that was made by the municipal judge, they'll have 30 days to be able to have a behavioral expert come in and maybe spend some time with the dog and be able to make an assessment to take to the circuit court if they need to, or what be it, and maybe able to give them more time to be able to get some other fashion, like what I just said about being able to remove the dog or a cat or animal of any type to a different location that is not located within the city. I know that's, there again, this is like talking about a child. Some people's animals are just like their children. This is a very sensitive and emotional topic. At the same time, please understand the city has to take steps to be able to protect other citizens within the city too. So we're trying to listen on both sides. We're trying to understand. That's why when you came up, I know I took thorough notes of what was said. And I think that's something we can talk about being able to articulate some of that. But to be able to cover everything in every way is very difficult. Understand that we can't make this a one-year process either, because that's a burden within overloading our kennels as well. So I'm going to go ahead and let one person come up and speak, because she was able to articulate a lot of things that I know we took notes on.
Thank you for giving me a few more minutes. Okay. I do agree that there is a problem with vicious animals, but to declare an animal vicious, that really needs to be determined by somebody that has that experience. That's the one thing. Thank you for agreeing with the due process. But the other thing that I also have a problem with, and I do want to thank Brenda from Animal Control, because I have personally worked with Brenda getting some of the animals from the city into rescues. So I think you guys do a good job on that aspect. But I do think, like I said, there's a lot of verbiage that I think would make everybody happy if it was changed. Number one is the D. It says the owner of any dog having a vicious nature. Again, you can have a Chihuahua that is considered a vicious nature. And I don't know who's determining that. But they're asking for anybody. If you have a little poodle that growls at your neighbor that could be considered vicious, then you're going to be asked to get a surety bond in an amount of $100,000 and liability insurance. I think that's very extreme, and that verbiage also needs to be changed. Thank you.
Thanks. And there again, not trying to play tit for tat, I've seen just as many small dogs attack people that have bloodied them up just as bad. So, I mean, the vicious statement doesn't need to be the size of the dog, it's the actions. And I know our police department, I mean, I get it. There again, we could debate this back and forth, but I know our police department does a thorough job of documenting injuries, going down to the hospital and getting the documentation. Anybody who is bitten or claims to be bitten has to go see the hospital for documented purposes by a doctor. And I get it. Unless you've been involved in that, you don't know the process of what it is. And I think that is part of our educational burden. We need to educate people on what the process is. You know, at the same time, though, I think we can curb this a little bit on some things and then try and work through it. There again, I think sometimes, as much as the citizens disagree with us, so does the staff sometimes. So understand, we'll work through it.
So do we need a recommendation for one of us?
Want to table it for a review?
Yeah, do we need a, Graville, I will ask you as a counselor, do we need?
I'm not really sure what direction you guys are giving me, what modifications you want me to make, but maybe we could have a work session on it or something like that. I mean, if you guys want to.
So can we do?
Consider it for another time.
I think that's a good idea.
Can we go ahead and do we need a vote, Melody, do we need a vote right now to table it, or do we just?
No, when we get to that bill, we can table it at that time.
Thank you.
The next thing that I have for you tonight is the Sunday alcohol sales bill that's later on in the agenda. This is to reflect recent legislation changes. They basically changed the Sunday alcohol sales to be the same as any other day of the week. That was done at the state level, so we're just updating our code to match that. That's later on in the agenda. The next thing that I have for you is the Meridian waste bill, which is also later on in the agenda. This, I had spoke to you guys earlier, a couple months ago maybe, about the Meridian waste contract ends at the end of this year. So we had to do an addendum to our current contract that just says neither one of us are renewing this contract. So there's a bill later on in the agenda where states that the mayor can sign that addendum saying that we're not going to renew that contract. That just went out to bid today, just so you guys know. So those bid specs are out there. The next thing I have is the operational updates. And I wanted to give you kind of an update on the North 47 sidewalk project. I've had several questions about that. So I wanted to let you know that the sidewalk is currently being built to engineered specs. It is MoDOT regulations. So there are consistently somebody out there inspecting that daily, whether it's MoDOT, our city staff, or somebody from our engineering company. So somebody's out there constantly inspecting it, making sure it's built to their specs. One of the things the engineer actually explained to me is it does meet all the ADA requirements. Some places it might seem steeper than others, and with the MoDOT regulations, you have certain grades that you have to follow, but if it follows the grade of the lay of the road, if it's next to a road and it follows the lay of the road, then it still meets that expectation. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys an update on that if you get questions about it. The other thing I have for you is I attended a Greater Warren County Economic Development Council meeting last week. And I can't really give you a whole lot of information because it's not really public knowledge, but the Warren County is currently one of 2 finalists for a location for a food processing plant. It's not inside the city limits, I can tell you that. And if that does go through, it would bring about 1,400 jobs to the community, to the area, to the county, which would be wonderful. So they're
We
wonderful.
have 1,400 people that want to work?
Yeah, where are you going to
I
find
hope
them
they
at?
can find them.
No offense, folks, but
Can't find them now.
we've been having a hard time filling positions here in the city.
Exactly. So the last thing that I have for you tonight is the census update. It has come out and Warrenton increased by 549 individuals. Not really what we all had expected, which is about a 7% increase, and it brings population up to 8,429.
I still struggle with that number.
Yeah,
I just-
keep in mind, they have to fill out the census, or it doesn't.
If they don't
Doesn't
fill out
work.
the census, doesn't count.
I don't think that's right, but
We have the combination of people that say that, I don't want to work, I don't want to fill it out. No, I don't want to fill it out. Or you got the ones that say, the government doesn't need to know anything about me.
Yeah. If I fill it out, they know where I'm at.
549.
Yeah.
And that's their
There's no
right
way.
number.
There's no way.
that's, I don't believe that, sir.
Better put a 10,000 in front of that.
Bring more.
Feels like, with traffic some days, it does feel like that.
There ain't no way. 500 people.
So I do have a question on the Meridian waste bill, and it's not really on that, but it is on the bid. Could you clarify what stipulations we asked on the bid? That way we don't get asked that by 10,000 people.
What stipulations that you have?
When we asked for a bid, what do we ask them to bid on?
So I have 4 different options on there. So one was everything. So it was weekly trash, it was recycling, and it was yard waste. And it was a bulky pickup once a month. Then I think the second one was just trash, recycling, bulky pickup, and maybe yard waste once a month or something, or it's 4 different options basically, and it's very specific on what each one is for them to bid out, all the way down to just weekly yard waste. Or I mean weekly, yeah, weekly trash pickup.
Trash pickup. Also, well, never mind, it just escaped my mind.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I do actually have one more.
Is there some kind of performance guarantee with them as far as like, hey,
Yes.
if you don't pick up the trash, I mean, in my neighborhood, it could be 6 a.m. or 10
We are
p.m.
requiring, on this bid specs, we're requiring a performance bond, but we also have in there, if you don't, I can't remember the verbiage of it, but it's basically if you don't do what you're supposed to, you could end up giving us a $5 credit for each missed pickup.
$5.
Hopefully it'll work. Yeah, when you're missing a whole street,
Yeah.
or a whole subdivision, it can
So when
add
is it
up.
set for the bids to be finalized in?
I'm sorry.
When are the bids supposed to be finalized and in?
We have a pre-bid meeting on the 22nd, and then the final bid opening the 29th.
As much as you may not think it is, it's a hot topic. A lot of people call, complain,
I
and
will have
ask.
for you, probably at the next board meeting, the survey results, and it is amazing.
So I do remember what I was going to ask you. Citywide cleanup.
Spring.
Not looking at this fall?
We're going to do it in the spring, for sure.
Okay.
When was the last one?
Unfortunately, we didn't have one at all last year because of COVID.
So when was the last one?
Almost a year and a half
It was 2019.
I think it was, what, the fall of
Yes,
2019?
spring of
Or
19.
spring of 2019.
Normally, we have it in the spring.
Okay.
So it was spring of 19 was the last
We
one
did
had.
2 in one time, didn't we?
We've never done two.
Maybe we should.
We've talked about it, but we've never done it.
Maybe we should.
And now we have
John
to also.
hates me saying that.
We
but
also have
maybe
to
we
move.
should.
We're gonna
Get him,
also
John.
have to move it because
that?
we're also gonna have to move it because we did use this area. So we'll have to move it out to the complex or somewhere else.
That's the biggest reason doing it in the fall.
I have to say, I'm not kind of eliminate with the bulk pickup. Wouldn't that eliminate a
Move it
lot
out
of
to
that?
why would we move it out to or you're just kicking it around complex?
Right, we have to
How
move
about we
it
kick
somewhere
around the
because we
aquatic
used-
center? That'd be
We
great.
used this pavilion in years past, and they went around the building, and that's how we dropped everything off. So it was downtown, it was a central location. So we'll have to change that and figure out where we're gonna put it next time.
Shed. Kidding.
No comment.
I think you're Brad's least favorite person. Anything else?
I also want to let you know we have had a P&Z member leave us last week. So we are down 3 P&Z openings and 3 park board openings.
How's that vetting process going?
2 tourism. I need volunteers for the vetting process. Who wants to be involved in that?
I could just, I've got 3 people in mind I can put up there real quick.
On either one of these boards?
No, on the P&Z.
Need 3.
Waiting for,
Need
You waiting
3.
for volunteers?
you waiting for volunteers?
For the vetting process?
Per the
Yes.
policy, I have to have 3 volunteers, 3
I'll be one.
board members to help with the vetting process.
That was 1.
Jack?
2.
Come on, Scott.
I think Larry wants to
I
volunteer.
think Larry likes it.
Is it during, when are you,
Thought about that.
is it during the day that you're vetting these people, or that you're meeting with them? Can it-
It kind of is going to depend on their schedule. I mean, we're basically interviewing them to volunteer their time. So,
Schultz, there it is. Third one, done.
that's all I have.
2 stepping up. Anything else?
Nope, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Director of Operations, John Struckoff.
Good evening. The only thing I have for you tonight is the meter pits bill. This is a bill to change the location that we require the meters to be installed in houses to be in the meter pit in the yard rather than being in the basement of the house.
And so we're going to go through that and swap them out? Is that what we're going to do here? or-
As they need to be replaced, I believe.
This is now moving forward. This is
Okay.
not existing.
So if something goes wrong, then they replace it. Or new builds.
Do we have any idea how many are like that, old way?
Now, probably about 3,000.
Oh. That's a lot.
Yeah, the majority of them are in houses, and it poses a pretty significant disadvantage as the city, those being in people's basements. We just can't get in there to change them, or if there's a problem with them, we'd have to go in these people's basements, and that's not really a good idea, so.
Yeah. I think you'd be scared about seeing
Yeah.
some of what's in some people's basements.
Yeah, we've seen some basements.
Where I keep my python.
Crawl spaces, you name it. Meter pits is a much better idea.
Excellent. Anything else?
That's all I have tonight.
Yeah, it's short and simple.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from our Finance Officer, Dana Belaska.
Good evening. You have before you a list of claims. Claims totaling $245,557.96. Were there any questions related to that list?
Entertain a motion to approve the accounts payable in the amount of $245,557.96.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Deloy, seconded by Alderman Collins. Roll call vote.
Alderman Jasper?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Alderman Cullum?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with 1 absent. Go ahead.
The next item you have are the financials for the month of July. So that's for the first fiscal period this year, just one period. General fund is about $35,000 below budget. Sales tax slightly above, 8,000 above budget. Building permits are down about 12,000. again, related to just the slowing housing starts in July. Police fines and court fees total about $19,000 below budget. Again, we have started again with the in-person court, but things are a little slow on that collection side, but I think they're trying to step that up. General fund operating expenses, about $78,000 below budget, and of that, about $50,000 related to wages, so for vacancies. I will say, I think I've gotten a chance to say hello to a new employee once a week lately, so it looks like their recruitment efforts are helping. Water and sewer fund, about $37,000 above budget. So water and sewer sales in that about $17,000. Industrial sewer, which is primarily the Coke plant, a little bit below budget. And then again, related with slower housing starts in July, connection fees are about $15,000 below budget for the month of July. Operating expenses for the water and sewer fund, $17,000 below budget. Of that, about $6,000 related to vacancies, and the remainder is just for miscellaneous maintenance and supplies that just haven't been spent yet. Were there any questions related to those July financials?
Guy will spend it.
I don't believe we do. Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Ground and Maintenance Director Brad Boozy-Cruz.
Good evening. Yeah, you have my monthly report in front of you. A couple of the highlights of that, as you can see, the mowing is starting to go up again, which that's with the soccer and ball season coming back around, that's all starting again. Another thing is the if you look down to the tree cleanup, we had last month we had over 62 hours of just tree cleanup in our parks and stuff that have come down during the storm, so that's been keeping us pretty busy. They have the let's see, what was the other thing? We finished our repairs out at the pool, and that is filled up and operational again, so that went very well for us. So I don't know if you have anything else.
Brad, I just wanted to, and I don't know if it's factored in there or not, when we sent the city crew around to pick up some of the debris, if they put it by the roads, was that included in so many hours?
No, this is just mine. Guy takes care of that, and they have that because that's all part of our Tree City thing. But yeah, they do, if they put it out to the road, if it's deemed a storm, they will, Public Works goes around and picks it up.
The guy will be asking for 2 new dump trucks next year and get it.
He will, yeah. We'll get his all.
You know that's right.
Brad, are the soccer fields ready for this weekend?
Yeah.
Are they all striped and ready to go?
They will be. We don't stripe until the day of or the day before. So because with everybody, if you all practicing on the game fields, it's kind of hard on them. So they will be striped. We usually stripe them that Friday or Thursday, and do them because most of nobody, not that many of us practice on Fridays. So
right.
That we usually have.
I was just checking.
Any other questions for Brad? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Public Works Director Guy Jeevers.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. First time I have is the monthly report. We had a water main break there in Village of Shane. We had a total of 4 sewer calls. 2 were on private and 2 were on the city. They had about 8,900 routine flushing of sewer mains with a jetted flusher truck, and we picked up trees in that from the storm. It was right about a week worth.
Any questions?
Any questions? For the first item I'm asking for approval for a backup generator for well 9 at Warrior. I'm recommending CK Power from St. Louis, Missouri for the amount of $42,760, which was low bid. Budget amount is $90,000. There's other things that we need to do for that project, but it will still come in under budget. We got to pour the concrete pad and throw some piping in for the generator to get the wires inside. have to get it set in place, but we will come in under budget on that. So I'm asking for approval for that for CK Power for the amount of $42,760, low bid, budget amount $90,000.
I gotta say, that was the one question I was gonna have for you. That's a awful low bid for a diesel generator.
It was the...
I mean, I understand it now that you guys are laying the pad and doing a lot of the work yourself. I
There's
understand
other
it.
things involved in it.
Okay. At my work, we're in the process of bidding that out, and wow,
Nice.
that seemed really low. So, thank you for clarifying that.
We also looked at natural gas as an option instead of diesel, but we went with the diesel because if we have other issues with the ground, we can always get diesel. We always store diesel out at the maintenance shed, and we also store diesel at the treatment plant. We also have a contract for have our diesels hauled to us.
So, on that contract, is CK, will they be doing maintenance on the diesel, or like monthly checks
They will
on
on
it?
our preventative maintenance. There's a 2-year warranty on it. We do a preventative maintenance on our generators.
Will you be doing checks yourself to check on it, or will they be coming out and doing checks on it just to see if it's firing up and connecting correctly?
What they do is a load test, so they'll shut everything off and fire it up. All our generators run the first Tuesday of the month and exercise, and then when we do our lift stations and all that, we'll check the hours and make sure the hour meter is running. And if it's not, then it might be a battery or something. So we do some maintenance ourselves.
Like I said, without knowing this, I would have never known it. It's great to do a load test. If they don't do the transfer switch and check it, you could have a great load test without nothing
There's
getting to
something
your
making
thing.
noise.
We have to hire an electrician to change something over because of the fact that the generator's running great. It's running on our load great, but it's not transferring power to that where it needs to. So
all expensive too.
Total wake-up call.
Was solar not an option on that?
I'm sorry?
Was solar not an option on that?
Solar,
The only two options we have is diesel fuel and natural gas?
No, it would be diesel fuel and natural gas.
Right,
Propane
I'm just saying,
wasn't
there
it?
was no option for a solar?
No,
Not for a generator that big, probably.
I don't never heard of that.
How big's that generator guy?
Probably is.
It would have to be a 400 amp service.
Okay.
400 amp three-phase. So we would have to have more solar panels than we could fit on our property. So,
Be able to generate it.
yep. And then if it,
Viable question, though.
and then if it was at night, we wouldn't be able to generate anything.
I mean, citizens that are going green would ask that option.
Absolutely.
Right away, so.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the clarification. All right, I'll entertain a motion to accept the backup generator bid for well number 9 from CK Power for a diesel generator in the amount of $42,760, the low bid.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Crump, second by Alderman Schultz. Roll call vote.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Cullum,
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with 1 absent.
Next item I have is asking for approval for the stormwater improvement on West Boone Slick Phase 1 from Highway U to the ground and maintenance building. Low bid was KS Understall from Washington, Missouri for the amount of $266,079. Low bid. Budget amount was $275,000.
Did you say it was KJ or KS Understall?
KJ.
KJ, thank you. Any questions on that? I'll entertain a motion to accept the Phase 1 stormwater improvements on West Boone Slick from KJ Undersaw in the amount of $266,079.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Jaspering, seconded by Alderman Crump. Roll call vote.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Cullum,
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with 1 absent.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bills and ordinance. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 61-21.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by McCollum. Who seconded it?
Somebody over there.
Deloy. Seconded by Alderman Deloy.
An ordinance of the City of Warrenton amending Chapter 600 of the Municipal Code regarding the hours intoxicating liquor may be sold.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading of Bill number 61-21.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz, seconded by Alderman Jaspering.
An ordinance of the City of Warrenton amending Chapter 600 of the Municipal Code regarding the hours intoxicating liquor may be sold.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Crump.
Yes.
Alderman Cullum.
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering.
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Motion passes, bill passes 5-0 with one absent. Bill number 62-21.
Motion to table it, or?
Yeah, I mean,
I'll make a motion to table it until.
Second.
motion has been made by Alderman Cullum to table Bill number 62-21. It is seconded by Alderman Deloy. If you would, roll call vote, please. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Cullum.
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering.
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Alderman Crump.
Yes.
The motion is passed 5-0 with one absent. Be brought up at a different time after we have worked through some of the issues we would like to see added. I will entertain a motion for the first reading of Bill number 63-21.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Deloy, seconded by Alderman Schultz.
An ordinance of the City of Warrenton amending Municipal Code Section 530, Attachment 2, Appendix B regarding water main supply piping, valves, and fittings.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading of Bill number 63-21.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Cullum, seconded by Alderman Crump.
An ordinance of the City of Warrenton amending Municipal Code Section 530, Attachment 2, Appendix B regarding water main supply piping, valves, and fittings.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Jaspering.
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Alderman Crump.
Yes.
Alderman Cullum.
Yes.
Bill passes 5-0 with one absent. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of Bill number 64-21.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Crump, seconded by Alderman Jaspering.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a third amendment to services contract with Meridian Waste Missouri LLC.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading of Bill number 64-21.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Cullum, seconded by Alderman Jaspering.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a third amendment to services contract with Meridian Waste Missouri LLC.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Cullum,
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering.
Yes.
Bill passes 5-0 with one absent. I'll entertain a motion to close the regular Board of Aldermen meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Go with Jaspering. Motion made by Alderman Crump, seconded by Alderman Jaspering. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We're so adjourned. Thank you.